Well, check, is this on? Thank you for this opportunity to share some research as well as some of my experiences working with educational access programs that I think are relevant to this discussion of diversity and inclusion in music education. I was pretty progressively alarmed about the lack of presence of African American men in particular in our field as I've gone to conferences and been in the field a little bit. And so I was wondering why I wouldn't see many folks at the conference, presenting at the conference, in leadership positions at the conference and in the journal articles and things like that. So I figured that I would set upon a systematic kind of approach of investigating that question. And so I wanted to start by figuring out, my own thoughts on that topic, and then use that as a framework for which to have a lens to discover that phenomenon. So after doing that work in an autoethnographic study, I was able to identify these epiphanies. And I should state that as a son, an adopted son of two Ohio State graduates in 1960s, when they graduated, who decided to relocate to Shaker Heights, Ohio, one of the first desegregated communities in the country, purposefully, for the purpose of providing me opportunities and the like to be in a position to do pretty much whatever I wanted to when I graduated from college. So that's kind of my background and how these epiphanies come out of that. So place matters, where you grow up matters, high expectations that my parents set for me and my siblings and the school district in regard to our achievement, the teaching, the tracking system, which I call the Jim Crow of education. My parents navigated that as my advocate, making sure that I was placed in the appropriate level. And granted, I wasn't all top level all the way through, but it was the level that was right for me based on their knowledge of knowing that they would have to advocate in that way. And then the co-curricular opportunities that are the unwritten things that they knew I would need, like typing wasn't required back then, right? It was just going out of phase. And so they said, but you're going to take typing in the summer because that's important. There's an Inroads program, which is designed for students, underrepresented students that wanted to go into business and things like that, perhaps. But the big aspect there was that it was college prep. So you got all that kind of enrichment stuff that went along with that, and they ensured that I got into that. I call them BUPPIES, Black Urban Professionals, for those that don't know the term. They had this very kind of teleologic nature about it, which kind of worked to my disadvantage when I went to college because I wanted to study music. They said, that is a great, well-rounded education. However, not a valid degree choice. And so that left me in a quandary, but I had a great undergraduate experience nonetheless, and moved on and had a great experience in the Summer Research Opportunity Program, which is a program that prepares students that might want to get a PhD sometime. So great mentoring in that program, where for the first time it wasn't just me, there were lots of folks of color in that program who had the same aspirations as I did. Finding your passion, found my way back to music, persistence in doing that. I got to shorten this up because it's a long ethnographic study. But long story short, alongside that, I had these opportunities to both be in and direct these access programs. And through that process, understanding the kinds of best practices that move folks along. Some of those programs, like the McNair program and the Upward Bound program, are part of the same part of the legislation that the ESSA is in. And so I've seen those things kind of work from both sides of that fence. So moving forward, that leaves me with this philosophical bent, that diversity is an intentional act. We have to push against. I mean, you would think diversity in nature is natural, and I think that is true, except when you weed certain things out. And so it has to be an intentional act, just like the opposite has been. So with that in mind, I just paint a little bit of a picture here of the stats that made me go towards why black men specifically. So as we look at our educational process and how that works, we can see that by the time you get into college, through college, get a job, get into grad school, there's nobody left. And then when you look at men, black men in this situation, I mean, if I weren't married already, it'd be a good situation. But in regards to that, 71%. And so that's why black men. So I propose that these are the junctures that everyone must go through. This is not unique to me, this is everybody, in order to enter the academy. I also propose this type of a series of programs that would be designed to mitigate that issue. And I'm just going to take a little bit of time to ruminate about this just a little bit. And so, in the college readiness program, you would have all of the things that you would need to be ready to get into college programs as that process exists right now. So this program, I'm going to tell you heads up, is built to win in the process that exists right now. All right? That's my Buffy upbringing. And so those kinds of things that come natural to many students that end up in schools like ours in the BTAA are not givens. We all kind of know that, right? To everyone's experience. But with those programs, you can begin to close that access gap. Not necessarily an achievement gap, but an access gap. Yeah. Then once we're in school, this would mirror kind of a McNair program or a summer research opportunity program where you get early research experience, you get the kind of academic advising that extends beyond which classes come in which order, but also thinking about the culture and the kinds of things that you might need to mitigate in that sense with the student, as well as kind of getting them engaged in thinking about their future self, perhaps in graduate school or not, but at least getting them prepared for what they're going to do next. And then once they're in graduate school, some more unwritten curriculums that we all kind of learn, and if we're lucky enough to have great mentors, you get these experiences. If not, you kind of just learn them from the School of Hard Knocks, or find out vicariously from other places. But if this could be kind of systematically embedded, that would be helpful in helping people come on through the process. And this would be true of any graduate student, but particularly underrepresented students for which they find themselves on an island, so to speak. And then finally, so now you're in the academy, but you want to stay there. So it's important that the mentoring not stop there, and that that these systems are intentional to create a space that is truly diverse. So these are just kind of ideas of the DREAM program. I will say that the SROP program is a CIC program. It's a BTAA program. All right? So we already have the basis of it going. What if we did something specific to music education related to that? I will also say that this pipeline, again, is designed to bring diverse faces into places, but that's only half the story. The second prong needs to be building, nurturing truly diverse places. So diverse spaces for diverse places would be my mantra. And I'd say further that when you transplant someone into a space, that space should change by nature. So if I'm going into your space, I can tell within a half a day of interacting with people whether you're truly a diverse place or you just have a few diverse faces. Because if I don't feel that kind of energy, synergy, and the nature of everything that you do reflective to all the people who are present, then I don't feel that. And so, thus, I leave you with that. Diverse spaces for diverse places. Thank you.